Dr. Shailendra. The subject of my talk is research methodology in English or in English literature. One thing I must clarify before I take to my lecture proper, and that is, though this is something which deals with research methodology in English, but generally it applies to other subjects too. Because there is a methodology in research, and that has to be practiced, that has to be followed by candidates, researchers in all subjects. Moreover, this is the age of interdisciplinary approach. So, this interdisciplinary approach also demands that we should make our approach to research methodology as broad-based as possible. Now, before I take up research methodology proper, I am to take you to one of the ideas given by my own professor, Professor J.K. Mishra, who was professor and head of English department at Allahabad University. He had written a beautiful article, Research in Indian Universities. That was the title of his article. And in that article he has pointed out beautifully that teaching and research go hand in hand. But whereas in previous days, that is in the past, the emphasis was given to teaching. I still remember so many professors were without PhD. And yet they were of international fame. So, Professor S.C. Dev and even K.K. Mehrotra and J.S. Saxena, Professor Sivaraman, so many of them, they were without PhDs. But they laid emphasis on the excellence of teaching. Now things have changed. Days are gone. And we have switched over to the emphasis on research. This automatically makes us consider about the quality of research. If you lay emphasis on research, then we must be beware of its standard, its excellence, its quality. And without quality, a research is useless. I was listening to one of the talks delivered by one of your previous speakers, and he was time and again trying to emphasize that no research is better than bad research. This bad research is the bad thing. And this has to be avoided by all means. The problem has been made a little difficult by the attitude of the UGC. What has the UGC done in this matter in the pursuit of research courses? It is a huddled mind, muddled mind. It has confused the issue by allowing preference to select NET and JRF, 2 PhD courses. Whereas you know that in PhD course, a candidate devotes at least 3 to 5 years of sustained hard work, and then only he is able to arrive at certain conclusions, certain findings about his project, about his problem, about the topic that he or she has picked up. So, this has to be taken into account that we have to be very careful, and we should avoid the UGC policy of this way and that way. I am using a kind of expression used by the noted writer Arundhati Roy. This way and that way. Arundhati Roy has mentioned this expression in her novel The God of Small Things, which won the Booker Prize in 1997. So, my dear listeners, remember that we as institutions of higher learning, as centers of higher learning, colleges, universities, we should pursue an independent policy of our own in the matter of credit, how students are to be enrolled, what procedure is to be adopted, what entrance tests are to be carried on, and on the basis of that, students, candidates are selected. Merit should never be allowed to suffer. So research is very much the need of the hour. This is my humble submission. And research is something without which we cannot go ahead successfully with the completion of a project, a program, an inquiry, an investigation into a topic, into a title, into a course. So, remember that it is research methodology, it is research that gives us a peculiar taste. It is a scientific taste, scientific temper. It generates scientific temper in us. It makes us rational in our approach to life. That is why sometimes, we are reminded of a famous saying in Sanskrit, Swan Nidra Bhatul Dhyanam, etc., etc. What is needed is that a candidate should be always careful to at least devote some 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours every day to the research work. And this should be continued till the project is completed, till the problem is solved, till the thesis is written. And along with this, what is needed today, I will now, after giving you some introductory remarks, these were only the introductory remarks from my side. Now I will take you to research methodology proper. Research methodology, any methodology, methodology comes from the word method. Method means tool, technique, a way of looking into a certain thing. That is methodology. Research methodology would therefore mean the method to conduct research or to look into research problem, research course, research topic in a sustained way. And research methodology, according to John Webster, He is one of the dictionary writers, very famous dictionary writer, Webster's International Dictionary. He says that research methodology is a conscious attempt. I am quoting him. Research methodology is a conscious attempt within quotes. It is a conscious matter because you know what you are doing. You are not in the dark. You are an enlightened scholar. You are a grown up, not a small child, but a grown up child. You know what you have to do. You know the results you will find there after doing your research work. And that is why again I say findings are very much important. At the end of thesis, you must mention your findings. That is wherein lies your originality. That is where lies your authenticity. That is where lies your reliability. Otherwise, bad quality research will lead you to land you in the charge of plagiarism. This charge of plagiarism has to be avoided by all means. The UGC also has developed a sort of mechanism to test what percentage of material you have picked up from other sources. And they allow about 20% or 22%, something like that. If it is your plagiarism is more than that, your borrowings are more than that, your thesis will be treated as the thesis of low standard. And you will be charged of plagiarism. My dear scholars, try to avoid this kind of charge. Don't fall into the pitfall of this charge of plagiarism. So, you know that this research methodology, coming back to my topic, research methodology is of various kinds. But there is a scholar, George J. Wyne. George J. Wyne. Wyne is W-Y-N-E-Y. Remember it. He says that research methodology is very, very important in the furtherance of research work. And then he divides research methodology into three categories. Prominently three. Survey methodology. Second is survey methodology, and the second is historical methodology, and the third is experimental methodology. These three prominent categories of research methodology have been mentioned by this scholar. Though I must hasten to add one thing more, that there are many more methodologies. Maybe I will mention them hurriedly later on. But presently, I am concerned only with these three methodologies. First, to take up survey methodology. The scholar says, Wyne says, that this is a methodology which is concerned with the present. And the present is the important moment for a researcher. Because all the problems he has to face, they arise in the present. He has to be sure through the survey method what is the feasibility of his research topic, what is the reasonability of what is the acceptance, what is the possibility of the research topic that he has picked up for his research work. Also, he or she has to ensure about research methodology of the first category, and that is survey methodology or survey method. And this I told that this is something which has to deal with the present moment. And this presentness immediately brings back all the issues related to research work, which arise from time to time before you, and how you have to tackle them, how to solve them, how to overcome them. This is all that you find in the, and then I told you that this method enables you to know about the feasibility of the research topic, whether the topic is reasonably valid or it can be not valid. This has to be also decided by this method. Also, this method enables us to know if there is any other researcher doing work on the same topic anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world, because English is a global language. So you have to be careful avoiding the repetition of the same topic with the help of this survey method. And then I pass on to the second category, that is the historical methodology, historical method. As its title suggests, it is based on history, that is on historical evidences. So research done on the basis of historical evidences. History is at the background of it. It is history that enables you to decide where you stand in the midst of research scholars of your subject, throughout the length and breadth of the country, throughout the length and breadth of the world. You have to know about all this with the help of history. Sense of history takes you to the past. If the survey method connected you with the present, historical method connects you with the past. The present, past, and the third remains, that is the future. The future is covered up a bit, to a great extent, by the third methodology, that is experimental methodology, which actually enables you to prepare questionnaires, getting responses from scholars, various scholars, especially from your field. What is their response to your particular topic, and how can make you to a good use of their suggestions, their information. It also enables you to conduct surveys and tests, not only in the labs or libraries, but also in the outer field. It requires field work, it takes you to the field work. Experimental methodology, especially in the subject of geography, also in the field of science, environmental sciences, and other sciences also related on birds, beasts, animals, trees, etc. They are all related to science subjects. So, these three main methodology have been mentioned by Dwivedi. But my humble submission is that there are certain more methodologies which have not been covered by Dwivedi because they are later developments. Other methodologies I now mention to you one by one. The fourth one is Archival research methodology. Archival, Archival, Archival research methodology. And this methodology presumes that all your research work will go on and will be carried on in a museum. Where? In a museum, where all the books, journals and sources and texts, they are stored in a low temperature of 5 to 6 degrees above the freezing point. So it is done, this kind of research is done in a museum. And a fifth kind of research methodology, hurriedly I am going through them, is the card methodology. I remember in 1971, I was in American Research Center at Hyderabad. I was granted a scholarship for a month. I was for my own research work on TSNA. And then there I found that this methodology was very much popular. So card methodology is a very popular methodology in the USA, in America. It is, you prepare cards in the size of a postcard. And you mention at it the requisite information, the required information about a book or a journal or an article. Author's name, then article or the book, then from where it is published, publisher's name, year of publication, and how many pages the book or journal contains. All these things are, and then the card, the library card number also is mentioned thereon, with the help of which you can locate the book or the journal or any other manuscript. You can easily locate them. So this is the method which I came across. This is out of my own experience. With my own eyes I saw in the SRC Hyderabad that this card methodology was very much popular there. It was in practice. And then there is one more approach to research. There is one more methodology or method to research work. And that is intertextual approach. You also call it discourse analysis. What do you call it? Discourse analysis. Discourse analysis analyzes the text and tries to reveal the hidden meaning or meanings in the text. Sometimes internal contexts in the text are, they become common and they are traced where and where, in which text, that very thing is found. So intertextuality is a kind of research method that has been developed beautifully by Foucault. The third one, they are all the exponents of this methodology. Then I think that last of all, the seventh in my list so far, another research methodology is being provided by various literary theories. They are giving you a particular viewpoint with the help of which to approach a subject matter in top research. For example, colonialism, post-colonialism. Post-colonialism after a country achieves freedom, like India after 1947. Earlier, in determining the principles of research in these two matters. Similarly, you have modernism, postmodernism, structuralism, post-structuralism, theory of deconstruction developed by Derrida, where text is meaningless and no meaning is fixed, meaning is fluid. So, feminism is another very popular approach these days. Many research scholars are doing their research work from this angle. Kamala Das, a feminist reading in her poetry. Sylvia Plath, a feminist reading in her poetry. And Sexton, feminist elements in her poetry. Judith Wright, feminist elements in her poetry. They are all also lumped together as confessional poets. I will come to this point later on when I am discussing actually topics and titles, how to choose, what not to choose. I will let you know that also. But presently, I was letting you know that literary theories also have provided us presently some research method. Recent one is eco-criticism. Eco-criticism, remember it. Karl Kroger is the father, Janak, pita of eco-criticism. Remember, after this, after giving you a list of research methodologies, now I pass on to selection of the topic, which is very much in my priority list. And this is something very beloved, favorite topic for me to discuss on. Because deciding a topic is a very difficult task for a research scholar. You are always in a quandary. You go on asking various scholars, various teachers, what will be the proper research topic for your research work. And either they give you suggestions on the basis of their own experience. Maybe that experience is a limited one. And therefore they may mislead you. They may impose upon you certain topics. I warn you not to fall into the trap of such suggestions. Do research work on a topic of your interest. Don't allow anybody else to be the deciding factor in this matter. That way you will feel comfortable, you will always feel easy, you will always feel that you should go on doing your work in a comfortable way. So, deciding a topic gives you half of success in research. What does it give you? It gives you half of success. If you pick up a right subject, right topic, half of success is sure for you. If you choose a bad topic, by bad topic I also mean a very vast topic, a very big topic, which should be avoided. For example, taking example from English literature, that is the domain of my research work. So examples will come from English literature, certainly. So you should not do research work on trends in poetry between the two great wars. This is a vast topic. You can do research on war poets because they are limited to 3 or 4 poets only. You understand? 3 or 4 poets. So you should try to delimit the range of your research. You should try to curtail the limits of your research. Therein again lies a good success. If you allow yourself to be dragged into the sea of unlimited area, unlimited time, like say the restoration research doing on restoration drama or on heroic tragedy in that period, restoration period, you are making a bad choice, in my humble opinion. The best thing would be to pick up a small thing, a small area. That small area should not be frequently trodden by other scholars. What I am suggesting is, don't pick up, if possible, classics or major authors for that matter, because they are already overworked. And because they are overworked, you will not be able to add anything new to your research, in your research. What has already been researched, you will not be able to add anything new to that. Therefore, my suggestion is, avoid a very big topic, a very vast topic, which you can call unmanageable or unreachable also. Don't pick up a topic where material is unreachable. I mean, your guide may ask you to go to Calcutta, National Library, Calcutta. He may or she may ask you to go to Bombay University or to go to Hyderabad, this American Studies Research Center. Nowadays, its name is changed. Its name is Indo-American Cooperation Center. And this is something, in picking up a topic, I am suggesting what you should not do. You should not do work on overworked authors. For example, Shakespeare, Wordsworth, even W.B. Yeats, unless there is some new area for you to research. They are already overworked. The best thing, therefore, on the contrary, you should pick up small authors. What should you pick up? Small authors. Small areas. You should pick up a virgin territory within quotes, a virgin territory. It is a territory which has not been trodden by other research scholars so far. What are those areas? Those areas may not be the areas of fiction and poetry, or maybe of drama. You can go to short story for your research work. You can go to the world of films, the impact of TV and radio on literature. You can make your research work on such things as myths and symbols in some work or in some author. If you find them, you can find plenty of them in T.S. Eliot. You can find plenty of them in W.S. So, in selecting your topic, which gives you half of the success, if you properly arrive at a proper subject matter, then my dear students, my dear scholars, remember that along with this, what you should do is that you should delimit your area of research. This is again I am repeating. You should try to limit your area of research. The smaller the area, greater the success. Remember it. The smaller the domain, greater the success. So, don't get lost in the ocean of research. Because if you jump into an ocean, you should have the skill and power in you to go across the ocean. Otherwise, you will be drowned into it. You understand my metaphor. Research, therefore, should be scientifically approached and approached within your limit. Of course, an experienced supervisor will be always an asset to you. Therefore, in selecting your supervisor, you should be very much cautious. Don't go to such a supervisor who only in the name of having, some scholars under him for supervision, he accepts you as a research scholar. Let the supervisor have the aptitude of guiding research. Why I am saying so? Because after making a good deal of efforts, you prepare your thesis. I will come to that, the physical preparation of PhD thesis. But before the preparation, you do a lot of hard work. The supervisor's duty is to check your chapters, to check your thesis thoroughly, especially from 2-3 points of view. How far your arguments have been carried forward. Secondly, how far you have been success to express yourself, to convey yourself in linguistic, literary language. Literariness of your language is a must for writing your thesis in literature. And that is why when we are writing report on a thesis, we recommend the thesis to be accepted for the PhD degree, because the thesis is found satisfactory in literary presentation, method of presentation, as well as in adding to, दो चीजें होती हैं ऐड करने का लिटरेरी थियरी में. One is either you have been able to interpret the known facts about a topic in a new way, fresh interpretation of known facts, you call it. Second thing, if it is not so, then you should be perfectly original and innovative in your research work. You should be innovative, original in your research work. Then these two, on the basis of these two things, we generally recommend the award of the PhD thesis. I think as candidates, because you have the future before you, you have to pick up and write the thesis. You should be able to present the thesis in a proper way. Therefore, you should keep these facts in mind. So, remember that after picking up a suitable topic, I come to those essential steps which must be taken into the writing of a thesis. Or even a research paper. For writing research papers, your guide may be Dwivedi's book, How to Write Research Papers. Or you can also locate a book like Fundamentals of Research, which is published by ASRC Hyderabad. Or you should keep with you the MLA style sheet, latest edition of the MLA style sheet. These are the essential sources. You must consult them. Before they will teach you the technology, they will teach you the techniques, I mean. They will teach you the tools, give you the tools to write the thesis properly. So, I come to certain steps which must be taken by you in writing your research work. Be it a research paper or be it a research thesis. In either case, though the methodology may slightly differ then, certainly. That is why I refer to Dwivedi's book for you. Professor was there, Louis J. Butt. He was a very fine scholar of Mark Twain. Very good scholar. He told me this. Look here, Dwivedi, if you want to, I was sitting with a group of scholars like you people. I had gone to his residence. He was living in Secunderabad. And we had moved to see him from Hyderabad to Secunderabad. He said, you should, in writing your thesis, adopt three approaches, three steps. I asked him, what are they? He gave a very pragmatic suggestion, very practical suggestion. He said, try to design your thesis properly. Thesis, second step will be antithesis. I will explain it to you. First let me know three steps that he mentioned. Thesis, second step, antithesis. The third step is synthesis. Thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis. In my case, he said, just as you are doing research work on TSLA, it is not necessary, the way he said, that since you are doing research work on TSLA from Indian viewpoint, my topic was Indian thought and tradition in T.S. Eliot's poetry. He said, you are developing this thesis. It is your thesis. You have designed it. All right. But there are scholars on T.S. Eliot who are divided on this in this matter. Some say Indian elements are so pronounced in Eliot's poetry. But there are scholars, many scholars, who say they are only rhetorical. They are only referential. They have nothing to do with the felt experiences of the author, of the poet. He said, of course, scholars like Grover Smith, Professor Grover Smith, or Christian Smith, another scholar, they are with you. They will support you in your thesis. But scholars, there are a group of them, like you can say Helen Gardner, the art of T.S. Eliot, or Elizabeth Drew, the design of Eliot's poetry. Even F.O. Matheson, the achievement of T.S. Eliot. Even Indian scholars like V. Rajan, they are against finding any Indian elements deeply impressed upon the writings of T.S. Eliot, deeply to be found in the writings in the poetry of T.S. Eliot. So this is, while giving your own view and supporting you with certain scholars, you should also give the opinions of the anti-scholars. They are the people who have developed antithesis against you. You should give their opinions also. So thesis, antithesis, and then ultimately it is your job as a research scholar. And it is here that your originality will lie. Your authenticity will be lying. That you should try to synthesize the two sides. The thesis supporters, the scholars who are supporting your thesis, the scholars who are not supporting your thesis, who are against you. You should try to combine them together and then evolve your own opinion. This is your finding. You pick up my point now. This will be your real finding. This will be your real research. Otherwise, I am reminded of my Sanskrit professor saying, Sa vidya ya muktaye. In research, there is no scope for it. Muktaye, salvation, moksha. There is no need for it in research work. You need to concentrate bakul dhyanam, like a bakul. No? So, you have the power to concentrate on the topic of your research while doing your work. And while synthesizing, that is the third step, which Professor Louis J. Bird had mentioned to me. The third step, synthesizing. This is to be given in your conclusion. Where? Because in thesis, 2 chapters are indispensable. One chapter is introduction, and second chapter, the last chapter will be conclusion. They are unavoidable in a work of thesis. They must be given. It is a different matter that scholars may differ whether they should be treated as separate independent chapters or they should not be treated as separate independent chapters. Personally speaking, if you seek my opinion, I will say you should make them separate independent chapters. That will help you in writing your thesis. I have examined hundreds of theses so far, awarded degrees to as many scholars, and inwardly I feel very happy that I have been able to make the career of so many students, so many candidates. I myself have produced about 50 scholars, research scholars. In the course of my guidance at Meerut University, I was teaching in Gurukul Kamli University. I was there, teaching there for 10.5 years. Then I joined the University of Allahabad. So about 50 research scholars I have produced. I have very vast experience in this line. So what suggestions I am giving you, they are born out of my own experience or experiences. I am not beating about the bush. I am not trying to ask you to build a castle in the air. I am asking you to move on the solid ground. And by moving on the solid ground, you should also know, apart from these steps, thesis, then developing antithesis, then arriving at synthesis. There are certain other steps to be taken also in the thesis. What are they? They are important also. Number one, the success of your thesis will depend on hunting proper material, where to get the proper sources. In my case, I was asked to visit SRC to get material from National Library, Calcutta, to get material from the University of Bombay. I myself visited the University of Lucknow and the University of Kurukshetra to consult the journals, especially of T.S. Eliot. The journal's name is The Criterion. Eliot had edited journal, literary journal, The Criterion, in 18 volumes. I couldn't find it in Uttar Pradesh. I found it in Kurukshetra. So I am widely traveled that way. I had a number of friends in Kurukshetra, English department. So, other steps which you should take into account, give importance to. One is collecting data. How to collect the relevant material. That is very important. Because King Karishanti Vartaro Yadi Shota Vidyate. What will you do if the source is missing? If there is no listener like you, what is the use of my talking, my speaking? Follow my point. This is the thing which I am mentioning here. So collecting data, that is a very essential step to be taken by you. Relevant material, to collect them. For example, while I was doing my research, I wrote a letter to Mrs. T.S. Eliot, asking her, because I was doing research from Indian point of view, Indian thought and tradition. So in order to enforce my thesis, I wrote a letter to Mrs. T.S. asking her if Mr. Eliot had ever visited India. Her reply came pat, and that was in the negative. It didn't help me, so I didn't quote her. If there is some data which helps you, then you quote it. If it doesn't help you, ignore it. Throw it into the dustbin. So, my suggestion is, first step that you should try to give importance is collecting data. After collecting data, you should try to analyze the data. Those which support your arguments, on the one side you keep them, on the other side you keep those things, those data, those sources which do not support you. Then only you will be able to develop your synthesis. So analyzing of your material that you have at hand, that is also very important for research work. The third is the drawing of inference. This is very important. This will show your reasoning power. Whether you are a girl, you are a boy, of talent or not, whether you can develop, you have the reasoning power in you or not. This can be shown by drawing the inference about the data collected and how you analyze it. Then the fourth step in this connection will be rechecking your thesis in the light of the inference drawn. Go through your thesis once again. Look into it again to see if there is needed some revision. If some revision is needed, make the necessary revision. Maybe with a red pen on the opposite side, left hand side, which page is back in. Don't write your in your handwritten thesis. Don't write your research papers or thesis both sides, on both sides. Only on one side, so that later on there is a scope for additions and also subtractions if there is needed anywhere. You can do that. After all, research is a scissor and paste process. What is it? कैंची बाजी इसमें करनी पड़ती, काटना पड़ता, scissor and paste. This is the process, this is the technique that has to be adopted. Last very important step that you must keep in mind as a researcher is drawing the proper conclusion, drawing conclusion. That is very important. So, after this, I have to tell you something about the physical preparation of thesis, because that is again very practical thing. That will be very much needed. And you, my listeners, of course, advanced listeners, talented listeners, you should try to know them, take them down somewhere. I hope you have a notebook with you, pen and notebook. What are the things which are required in the physical preparation of a thesis? Research paper writing is easier. How long is a research paper? 10 pages to 15 pages, 20 pages at the maximum. Not more than that. Okay? So, I tell you what things are to be taken into account for the physical, for the making of a thesis, physical preparation of a thesis. First thing is, you should be very clear about the material that you call the prelims. Prelims, prelims. What are the prelims? Prelims are your acknowledgements. You have to acknowledge to whom and to whom you are indebted for your research work. Acknowledgement. Okay? Separately. At the very beginning of the thesis. Then in the second place, it will be preface. You will write a preface justifying your thesis, justifying your topic of research. Why did you pick up this topic? Who inspired you to pick up this topic? What are your developments? What are your arguments in the body of the thesis? And how you come to the conclusion in the thesis. So dear students, remember, after writing acknowledgements, you write preface. Preface may be long, preface may be short. It may be up 2 pages, 3 pages, maybe 7 to 10 pages. In my case, it was a bit longer. Then third thing also here you have to give. If you have made use of abbreviations in the body of the thesis, then you have to mention those abbreviations. Then you have to put them in one place. After acknowledgements and preface, the third thing will be that you will be writing is this one. Abbreviations. List of abbreviations. Then begins the body, how you come to develop the body, proper physical preparation, how do you do it, of the thesis, how do you develop the body of the thesis. Then you start thinking of the division, chapter-wise division of the thesis. And remember, my dear students, my dear scholars, that as I mentioned earlier, the first chapter inevitably will be introduction. Whatever the topic of your research is, introduction will be there. Similarly, at the end of your thesis, you will have to give conclusion. You also call it summing up. Summing up or conclusion is the same. These two chapters, then you can ask me how long the thesis should be. How many chapters should be in a thesis? When there is no fixed number of chapters in a thesis. It may be 4 or 5. It may be having 7, 8, maybe up to 10. But don't give one chapter to one book. Rather, all the books or novels, poetry collections should be put together in one chapter. Like if you are tracing family relationships in the poetry of A.K. Ramanujan, for example, family relationships in the poetry of Ramanujan. So, you can say treatment of mother, parents and mother, then treatment of Zohai, treatment of children, daughter in particular. So, and how he treats them in all the books, in all the poetry collections, you can put them together in one chapter. That is how you can reduce the number of chapters. Otherwise, in certain cases, chapters become alarming. 12 chapters, 13 chapters, 15 chapters, they become alarming. They tell on your nerves and you get bored. So many chapters, oh Allah, God, how can I handle them? Try to, again I say, limit the number of chapters. So, division or chapterization of your thesis. After that, what do you give? You give notes and references at the end of every chapter. There are two methods in this. You give notes and references either at the end of every chapter, but American practice is rather greater tilting towards you give notes and references at the end of the thesis. Chapter 1, all the reference and notes given in one place. Chapter 2 then begins all the notes and references given in one place. But usually to my research scholars, I have advised to give notes and references at the end of every chapter because that helps the reader, the examiner, to look up your references, your notes hurriedly. He has not to turn over so many pages. After turning a few pages, he finds it. That's why it should be given at the end of every chapter. And then in between, you can give, if there is any appendix or appendices, you can add it to there after notes and references. As in my case, I had given appendices on books on Indian philosophy, journals on Indian philosophy. So appendices there. And then at the end of the thesis, this is very much a part of bodily preparation of the thesis, is at the end of the thesis, you mention bibliography, you give bibliography. Bibliography is a big term, large term. The best thing these days, which is prepared in the world of research, is works cited. Either works cited, or you can also call it select bibliography or selected bibliography, whatever you want, you can pick up. The best, for leave it to my choice, I would advise you, works cited will be the best choice for you here. So these are the things, I think, which you must keep in mind. And with this, I come to now, okay, I come to concluding my lecture. And in this connection, I must point out to you that there are three types of researches: high, middle, and low. Three types of researches. High researches are always desirable. These researches give you name and fame. They are called standard researches. Nobody will be able to raise a finger at such researches. But middle researches are of middle quality, mixed quality, where even you find some problems, typing mistakes, linguistic mistakes, spelling mistakes because of your negligence, your carelessness. Otherwise, you could have corrected them. And they are pointed out by the examiner. When you submit the thesis, they are pointed out by the examiner. Here you have missed. These are the missing points. So try to make your thesis as perfect as possible. in the entire course of my long life as a teacher, as a researcher, I have come across 2-3 theses which are of the highest order, high order. And of middle order, so many of them are there. But God forbid that you are confronted with the low order of thesis. You know, in speaking about oratory, you know the name of Cicero, C-I-C-E-R-O, Cicero. Cicero has given this kind of division while he was speaking about oratory. It may be high, it may be middle, it may be low. Low is the damned thing. Try to avoid writing the low thesis, substandard thesis, low standard, substandard thesis. I remember I read an article published in Professor Balram Gupta's journal, Indian Writing, Journal of Indian Writing in English. That article was written by Professor C.D. Narasimhaya, a very renowned scholar of English from the south. C.D. Narasimhaya was of the opinion about the low kind of thesis, substandard kind of thing. He said, put them together in the library and ask the bomber to hurl bombs at them, and I don't think any loss will happen. Understand? This is the opinion of the low kind of research, substandard type of research, which must be avoided by all means, by all of us. So with this, I conclude my lecture. Now, if you have any query, anything to ask me, I am here. I would love to clarify. Yes, time हो गया ना? हाँ, हाँ.
प्रणाम सर.
Yes.
प्रणाम सर, मेरा नाम मनीष जोशी है सर. मैं हिंदी साहित्य का शोधार्थी हूँ
जी.
सर. मेरे दो प्रश्न है सर. पहला प्रश्न तो ये, यदि हम अपनी थीसिस में किसी व्यक्ति विशेष पर काम कर रहे हैं और उसका साक्षात्कार रख रहे हैं, इंटरव्यू
रिसर्च कर रहे हैं
जी,
और
सर अगर हम उनका इंटरव्यू अपने थीसिस में रख रहे हैं तो सर वो एक चैप्टर बनेगा या अपेंडिक्स में आएगा, परिशिष्ट में?
अपेंडिक्स में डालिए, चैप्टर मत बनाइए.
जी जी. और सर दूसरा प्रश्न है
जी.
कि सर हम जो ये हमारी साहित्य इतिहास की जो परंपरा है, जो हिंदी साहित्य का जो इतिहास लिखा गया है,
हाँ,
उसमें सर
शुक्ल जी जैसे लिखे हैं.
जी 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 बहुत सारे इतिहास लिखे गए हैं. तो उस परंपरा पर
लक्ष्मी वार्ष्णेय जी का भी है. जी जी. राम कुमार वर्मा का भी है शायद कोई. जी
जी जी जी. सर इस परंपरा को लेकर हम काम करें तो थोड़ा मार्गदर्शन कीजिए सर.
हाँ ठीक है. जो आपको कोई दिक्कत कहीं स्टकअप हो जाते हैं तो बताइएगा, हमारे लायक क्या हम कर सकते हैं. ठीक है.
जी जी.
हाँ
ठीक है.
थैंक यू.
धन्यवाद.
थैंक यू. एनीथिंग एल्स? आशालन.
जी सर, आपका सर बहुत सुंदर व्याख्यान रहा और सर आपने कई डायमेंशन से आपने कवर किया. किसी के भी शोधार्थी का कोई भी प्रश्न हो, इंग्लिश लिटरेचर से या इंग्लिश साहित्य से, आशीष सर जुड़ चुके हैं इंग्लिश से, तो सर के भी कई प्रश्न होंगे, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है.
जी.
सर मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था कि हाउ टू फाइंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ माय रिसर्च.
ऑब्जेक्टिव्स तो देखिए, जब आप सेलेक्ट ए टॉपिक
जी
objectives become clear. With some objectives in your mind, you select a topic. For instance, if you want to approach some writer like Indianness in A.K. Ramanujam's poetry, objective is you will be trying to locate, trace his Indian associations. Where do you find Indianness? In thought, in mind, in his friendships, in his associations. Objectives are provided by the topic itself. That is my humble submission. Okay? So we don't get worried over it. As you go along with your thesis, proceed with your thesis, I think objectives will be clear. But also at the beginning, you should move with an objective. At least with one objective. Yes?
Thank you so much, sir.
Anyone else push something? Jyoti?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, good evening. Good evening.
Sir, my question is, I want to know about the primary data in English literature. Is there any use of primary data?
Primary?
Yes, sir, primary data. Suppose I am, my topic is about Thomas Hardy. Is there any use of primary data?
You are giving a twist to the whole thing.
Yes, sir.
Naveen is speaking now.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Naveen, look here. Primary data is primary sources.
Yes, sir.
Understand? And that means all those books written by Thomas Hardy will be put under primary data, primary sources. We generally call it primary sources.
Yes, sir.
We do not use the term data as such.
Yes, sir. Always it is said
Primary
that.
sources, then suppose second will be there, second section, secondary sources, where you have critical books in one A, B, journals and articles, C, interviews, etc. and thesis, D, STTP and websites, I mean internets and all those things, they are to be given there. They are to be mentioned in bibliography part.
Okay, sir.
Anything else, Ashish?
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you.
you know, I have a very wide experience of guiding research. Even in Allahabad, I was an